Hi, it's Amy and Tim from Go With Less. Today we are talking money. Specifically, how did we work with all these different currencies on our European trip? We've had quite a bit of questions and we're in a lot of different Facebook groups, travel groups and things like that, where people ask questions about the best credit cards to use for traveling, how to withdraw money. Some people are still talking about using traveler's checks in this day and age. So we're gonna talk about that on this video. Now, a little disclaimer.
So this is just our experience, and so when it comes to money, it seems like there are an unlimited number of opinions that people are going to bring to the table. Also, we only saw a small part of Europe, and so we're not talking about all of Europe when we talk about this is how you should deal with your money when you're in Europe. We're talking about our experience that we've had over the past 2 months here in Europe.
Yes, and just to run down what that was. So we started in Poland, which had the zloty. We went to Hungary, which had the forint. We went to Vienna, which had the euro. We went to the Czech Republic, which had the crown. We went to Germany, which went back to the euro. And then we are in France for over a month, and that was still on the euro. And then we're bordering on Switzerland, which has Swiss francs. So we're going to talk about how, and by the way, the only money we have left from the currencies we left behind, other than euros, which we're still in, is like kind of play money for like coin collecting. So except for a couple coins from those denominations, how did we come home with exactly what we needed? We didn't go and splurge on junk at the train station to use up the last of our dollars. We planned it to come out at pretty much zero. So we're talking about that today. We hope that you'll join in.
So something that I do every time we leave the country is I create a cheat sheet for a conversion cheat sheet for the currency we're going to be working with. For instance, when we were in Poland, the zloty was roughly worth $1 was worth 3.76 zloty, and so I created a sheet that shows $1 worth 3.76 zloty, $5 is worth whatever, $10 is worth whatever, $20 is worth whatever, and then I also do the inverse of that in terms of the zloty. So I pick the most common denominations of the local currency.
How do you find the most common denominations of a currency?
Just basically with Google.
Okay.
And so,
with Wikipedia?
I think it was Wikipedia.
Okay.
So basically I went there, and so I figured out that the zloty, the most common denominations of the zloty, it's the 10, the 20, the 50, the 100, and the 200. So those are what you're going to find in terms of zloty. And so I create this cheat sheet so that we have a quick reference. And what this allows us to do is obviously you have converters and things like that on your phone that make this information just at your fingertips. However, if you just want to know off the top of your head, okay, a beer is going to cost 20 zloty, well, maybe that's going to be a little unaffordable. This would be just something quick to have at your disposal for again, a quick reference. So I do this for every trip we do. And this one there was a little involved because we had 5 different currencies.
We put absolutely every penny of our spending on a credit card that we can. Why is that? And by the way, that's at home or on the road. That is because we get rewards for using credit cards. Credit cards are convenient. So we're going to talk about credit cards in this segment. I do want to have a little disclaimer. Do not use a credit card if you keep a balance on a credit card. So we pay off our credit cards in full every single month. We are not condoning getting credit cards, signing up for credit card bonuses, using credit cards if you don't pay your balance off every single month. So now that we're done with that, we're going to talk about why we're using credit cards. We do use no foreign transaction fee cards, so that's something to consider. You can certainly find that out online pretty easily.
Yeah, when you sign up for cards, you just want to make sure you pick one. Many cards offer this as a feature. Many don't. And so it's important that you have a card in your wallet, or that the primary card that you're using when you're traveling abroad has no foreign transaction fees.
And foreign transaction fees can be up to 3%. So that might sound like $3 on a $100 purchase of a fee. It doesn't really sound that much, but when you're talking about spending a couple $1,000s, that will be adding up. So be smart and do not have your travel money go toward unnecessary fees.
Yep. One other thing you want to be aware of as you're using credit cards abroad is there's this, I'm going to call it a scam. I'm going to call it what I think it is. And so whenever you're offered, whenever you pay with a credit card, oftentimes you'll be offered, do you want to pay in US dollars or do you want to pay in the local currency? You never, ever want to choose, yes, I want to pay in US dollars. That's the scam part, and the reason for that is they charge you some weird markup, like I accidentally, somebody picked the option for me in a transaction that I made in Switzerland, and they charged me 3%. So in the scheme of things, no big deal, but still, I feel like it's a ripoff. And so
I think he thought he was being nice and helpful, but it was not.
That was not. So basically,
For
again,
people who are in the know. Now you're in the know.
Now you're in the know. So you always want to choose a local currency. That's again assuming you have a card that has no foreign transaction fees. You always want to choose the local currency, not US dollars, and that's a great tip. Something else regarding credit cards that we wanted to mention is in Europe, most of the credit cards that are issued in Europe are PIN enabled. So they're chip enabled and PIN enabled.
These are European credit cards.
European credit cards. And so what that means is that instead of signing whenever you use your chip card, you actually enter a PIN. So you're issued a PIN, or you select a PIN with this credit card that you use when you're at a kiosk or when you're at the grocery store or wherever. If you're European and you're making a purchase, this is just everyday occurrence in Europe. And so the cards that we have in the States, most of the cards that we have don't have that. And even the ones that you can get in the States that are PIN enabled in the States, they still don't use the PIN. But
we're not talking about debit cards, just PS.
That's exactly right. I'm not talking about
credit cards, PIN enabled credit cards.
PIN enabled credit card. And so the only card that I have, and Amy and I both have this card, but it's a Barclay card, Arrival Plus. This is the only card that we have in our wallet that has a PIN that works here in Europe. And so it still is weird though, even if we do go to the grocery store and we use this card, it still asks us for a signature. However, there are places like the train station kiosk or the gas station kiosk. If you go to these automated machines, it requires that you use a PIN-enabled card.
The ones we have seen.
The ones, that's right.
Yeah, I have seen lots of accounts that this is not for everybody. This is just our account. That's all we're saying. But we have seen it over and over and over again.
Yep, and so it seems to be these automated things where they really want you to have a PIN. And so the only way we were able to buy a train ticket
many places
was with a PIN-enabled card. And same thing with the gas here in Hegenheim. When we went to buy gas in France, we had to have a PIN-enabled card. It wouldn't take our normal signature card, and so we had to have a PIN-enabled card. And luckily, we had our Arrival Plus, and that worked and allowed us to buy gas.
And we knew the PIN. That's another one.
That is a good point.
Because Tim doesn't know his PIN.
I don't know my PIN. Amy knew hers, thank goodness.
I guessed.
And it worked. So anyway.
And before we finish up with that, just a note is that these kiosks had 0 employees. So if you say, no big deal, I'll just go to the ticket window and I'll take care of the gas station. No, there is no option. If you do not have a PIN-enabled card, you aren't doing this. So that is something to be aware of, specifically for Europe. By the way, in the comments, we want to know it. We're going to other countries and other continents. How does this work in other places? So we do want to hear, we're not done with the video, but we do want to understand. We have been around Europe. I lost count how many times we've been here. So we have a decent amount of experience. We've been here, I don't know, at least 5 times in 5 years, I guess. So, and we pay attention to this stuff. So, yeah.
So now we're moving on to cash. So we have a strategy every time we arrive in a new country, whether it's by plane or by train. We're going to go to the ATM machine, bus, whatever, lots of buses. As soon as we arrive, we run to the ATM machine and get out a small amount of cash. So we have decided before we arrive in the given city how much how much cash we think we're going to need while we're there. And so we go out and grab a small amount of cash as soon as we arrive. So,
and actually, and that's about $100 US. So we figure out what's $100 US in the foreign currency, and that's about what we take out divided by 2. And Tim's going to explain why we do it divided by 2.
Yep. And the reason we divide it by 2 is because we have, number one, there's 2 reasons. So number one, we have ATM cards that don't charge us any fees. So no matter what even if the ATM machine charges $12 to make a withdrawal, we don't care because that fee is wiped away using our Charles Schwab checking account that we have that allows for no ATM fees around the world. So this is an amazing product and something.
All travelers should look at the Charles Schwab checking account.
That's exactly right.
All international travelers.
And so no fees. And so the reason we do 2 separate transactions is because we want small bills. And so The worst thing you want to do if you want to go buy an ice cream, you don't want to pay with a $20 bill in the local currency, because oftentimes they don't have change, and it's frustrating
like it.
that they don't like it. That's right. So they don't. That's right.
Or baguette for €1. You better have something much smaller, like a 5 or smaller. They don't like making change. They don't have change.
They don't have change is probably the reason they don't like making it. And so we get out, we do these two separate transactions, and we get out this $100 so that we have money for the trip, and then for the city or for the country. And then as we make our way through the trip, we use credit cards as often as we can. And then towards the end of the trip, if it looks like we're going to be stuck with a bunch of cash, we start using the cash for meals and other things that we're going to do.
Groceries.
So that we're going to make sure that we're going to use the cash before we leave the country. And like Amy said before, we haven't had to leave any money on the table really, other than some coins that we want to take home for my coin collection. So
say we're at a restaurant. Say we have what is equal to $20 and the bill is $25. We'll say, we have $20 in your currency. We have €20. Can you please put this toward the bill, and we will pay the rest of it with a credit card. So we are going to be when we're having our last meal, we're going to be really, really careful at the very end that we are spending every bit of that cash, so that we're not coming home with all the stuff that we're possibly never going to need again.
That's exactly right.
What we found is the more local the place and the less expensive, the more unlikely that they take credit cards. So like the smaller, cheaper, more local places take cash only in many, many, many circumstances. So we do a lot of that. So the kind of more tourist audience or the more expensive restaurants often accept credit cards. We're not hitting those places, and so that's one reason why we'd want the cash. And also we do a lot of free walking tours. They're paid based upon tip only. That's all in cash. So there you go with the cash. Also, just an anecdote. We notice, I don't know if Tim's seen this, but I see this like crazy. We go to the grocery store, I can't, almost every day. So even when we're in hotels, we're at the grocery store almost daily. What I've seen, people in Europe aren't big credit card users. So in America, we pull out a credit card. I told you, for everything we do. If we're doing a $1 purchase, we're pulling out a credit card for that. No problem. We carry nothing. I have like $20 in my wallet that lasts a month. And so here, it's the opposite. I'm seeing people shell out €80 or worth of $80 worth of groceries in cash constantly. And so it is not a credit card culture is what we're seeing over here, not yet at least. And again, this is our experience, but we do pay attention because this is kind of our obsession.
So we want to talk about two quick things before we wrap this up. The first is with credit cards, if you're going to pay at a restaurant, how that works. And so they'll bring you a machine and say, here's your bill. And if you don't tell them you want to add a tip, it'll just be for the total amount of the bill.
And you can't add a tip then.
And you can't add a tip. You can pay them in cash or something like that, but you can't add a tip once you ran the credit card. And so if you do want to add a tip, you want to do that. You want to let the server know beforehand. Also, tipping culture seems to vary widely from place to place. And in Europe. And so it's important to know where you are, what the culture is in that specific place, and how you're going to deal with that. But if you're going to pay with the credit card, it's also important to know that you're going to need to let them know that you want to add a tip as a part of the transaction. And the last thing we want to talk about is traveler's checks. So there's been some conversation recently about traveler's checks. We don't use them in any way, shape, or form. We really don't know anything about them, or can't even really come up with use cases for traveler's checks. We think they're a passé product. And so if you guys have a different opinion, we'd love to hear your thoughts on traveler's checks. But to the best of our knowledge, there is no need to have traveler's checks in your wallet anymore.
Well, that wraps it up. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe below if you have not already. We'd love any comments. What's your experience with tipping and currencies in other countries? And if you think this would be helpful to anybody else who's traveling to Europe, we would appreciate if you share it. Thanks for watching.